Morning, everyone. So I'm Alexin. I am also a student at the University of Calgary, and I am completing a research practicum under the supervision of Dr. Jamal. Just a heads up, my internet's a little unstable this morning, so I might turn off my camera, but I'm here and I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you. And just want to make sure before she start recording, I don't know, everybody is okay with the recording the session? Any
Yes.
objection? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you, Alexan. And now I would invite Afghanistan team to introduce.
I don't know how many people is Dr. Seb Wahidyar available as well.
Yes,
If
he
we
is
are
aware.
two people,
Yeah, two people. Yeah.
so I think Dr. Seb should go first.
Okay, so my Afghanistan team, we are two here, myself, Ataullah Wahidyar, and I think I don't know how to introduce myself. Last time I was puzzled by this, but I have been in education for almost 22 years now. So all my life is education, 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 and happy to be with you all. When you are in a with university students, professors, that is all my life. So I have been doing education all my life. And then my colleague Arif, please go ahead.
Arif Zazai, right now a research assistant for this assignment, and I work for education planning and policy, and currently also working as a researcher.
Thank you. Welcome, Arif. And I just want to mention to the whole team just one key point because it's a training session. So it's also about cross-cultural training, right? So we know about, so there are things in culture that that are very interesting and important for all of us to know. Why Arif said that first Dr. Wahidyar should introduce himself. He did not start it. Why? You know why? It's called ihtiram, respect for elder. So he was not comfortable introducing himself first, but he said Dr. Wahidyar should introduce himself first, then I will go. Right? These are small things, but these are very meaningful and deep in different cultures, right? Thank you. Now go to Pakistan team. Thank you, Ran.
Hello,
Yes.
everyone. I am Waqar Ahmed from Pakistan, living on the border side of Pakistan, bordering with Afghanistan, actually. Uh, and I'm in this group, working in this group since I think some for more than 3 years. So happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, assalamu alaikum to all. Adnan Ashraf here from Pakistan team, associated as a research assistant. I'm currently pursuing my PhD in social work. As I mentioned last time, I'm waiting for the final evaluation report, and I'm also supervising BSW and MSW field practicum supervision as the external supervisor. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. You are almost done with your PhD. Soon we're going to call you Dr. Adnan.
I
Inshallah.
hope so, inshallah, inshallah. Thank you.
Good. Okay, next we go to Qatar.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Aamir, for this lovely gathering from multiple countries, and looking forward for this research training. So my name is Rania Mansour. I'm Lebanese originally, but working in Qatar at Doha Institute for Graduate Studies with my colleague Dalal. I don't know if she can join us. She will try her best. She has some emergencies in her family. I worked at the Lebanese University as chair of social work department, and here in Qatar, I'm assistant professor and in social work, in addition to my responsibility for field training education or field education courses. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Rania. It's an honor for us that you have joined us. So thank you so much. And
Thank you. Do you
Dalal,
want me to introduce Dalal?
yes, yeah, please, yeah.
So Dalal, she's the research assistant for this project. She is Qatari and graduated from Doha Institute for Graduate Studies University in the social work program. She joined us 2 years ago, Dr. Amir,
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
pilot project. And she's also excited to join this research again. Thank you.
yeah. She did amazing work in your
Yeah.
guidance
And
on the
collecting data and in
yes,
translating the,
yes, no
yeah,
doubt, no doubt. Yeah, it was a
thank you.
great project. I think in the Pakistan team we missed one person, Awais. Yeah, he did not. Yeah, he is kind of Pakistan and Canada both, so that's why he got
Thank
confused.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to just correct it that I am on both sides from Canada and Pakistan
yeah.
because I'm doing my research practicum with Dr. Aamir Jamal, and it's my final semester in University of Calgary. So I
Wonderful.
am here to assist, and I'm a research assistant on behalf of Dr. Aamir Jamal, and as a student, I'm working here in Pakistan.
Very good. Thank you so much. Let's go to Saudi Arabia.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Ghulam Muhammad Hundi from Pakistan, but currently I am working in Saudi Arabia in Qasim University, College of Applied Medical Sciences, and I am working in this project. Thankful to Dr. Aamir Jamal for including me in this project to work with them. And there is my graduate students, Muhammad Abdullah Al-Baradi. He will work with us as a research assistant. He is Saudi citizen. He is also present in the session. He will introduce himself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ghulam. It's an honor for us that you joined us. Yes, Muhammad?
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you guys? I'm Muhammad Hamad Al-Bradi. I'm from Saudi Arabia and I'm a student, graduating student
Yeah.
for for health administration. Nice to see you all. Sorry, this is my
Wonderful.
first time. Thank
Okay,
you.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe at some point we will be able to see you, inshallah. And this is great, mashallah. And last but not least, Turkey. I think there is.
Turkey, yes. I'm alone today.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm from Turkey, Karabük University, and I'm also a research assistant and doctoral student in the qualification period. My supervisor, Dr. Oğuzhan Zengin, but he's not here. He's
Yeah.
on semester vacation with his family.
Okay.
I'm glad to be here with you, and thanks for all.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's such a beautiful gathering that we have all compassionate and kind of social activists, I would say, in these areas and working as a researcher as well. So thank you so much all. And we are together for a particular context, right? Muslim masculinities, which is not being discussed a lot in the academic literature. So this will be an amazing journey together. So thank you for your time on there. So let's begin with our formal. We will be briefly basically discussing a few aspects of how to, right? This is more about the introduction is kind of done already, but this is more about how to. And I think some of you were in one of our other trainings, so sorry that it will be a repeat of a few things that you already attended. So bear with us. Okay, Sarah, you wanna change the slide? Okay, so we begin with this is my personal land acknowledgement as a Pashtun man and a direct descendant of a colonized and repeatedly invaded region of Pakistan and Afghanistan by colonizers and a first-time voluntary immigrant. I acknowledge and appreciate to coexist on this beautiful land of indigenous people. I knowingly and unknowingly am impacted by the complex historical, geopolitical, and transnational power relationship and seek to share the land, resources, and space and participate in spirit in a critically self-reflective, relational, and respectful manner. Thank you. We move to the next slide, and I think some of you already seen this, but I think a good number of you did not. So I just want to briefly talk about our values and our principles that are guiding this research, right? So this is really important for us. So we are coming with the anti-colonial and anti-oppressive principles. We are coming with a decolonial approach while doing this research. This research is different, very different than many other researches done in the Western world using Western lenses and apply those lenses. And we know that those are not as effective. We want to do research in which local lenses, faith-based lenses in the Islamic context, culture-based lenses are appreciated, are acknowledged, are respected with care, right? So that's our lens, right? So we are coming from our deen, we are coming from our culture, while for social change and consciousness raising. So we are using those tools which were not adequately highlighted, explored, evolved, and directed and implemented for us for positive social change, for developing peaceful communities. So you see, this is our lens. Wisdom is derived from local context and knowledge. We believe that wisdom is there. Voices are there, but they were not respectfully engaged. Our elders do have wisdom. Our faith do have wisdom, but that wisdom to solve our issues is not properly respected and explored. Rather, colonizers, they try to basically disrespect those wisdom, right? And try not to appreciate that, rather degrade that. So we want to appreciate that wisdom that is more effective. And then we say that collective power is resilient and resistant. So we collectively work together for positive social change to bring peace in our homes, in our societies. So it's more about peace. When we talk about violence against women, it's basically violence at home, which then goes to violence in society and community and family and in the state then, right? So we need peaceful homes informed by our own wisdom. So then beside that, community consciousness raising, and we believe that knowledge is co-constructed, right? It's not like a pipeline. In one of the articles, I say this, that it's not a pipeline that from the west there is a pipe and the rest are getting wisdom. No, it should be like a bridge in which we share and learn from each other and learn from each other, both Western world and other world and other developing world, or I would call it majority world. Both worlds, they have their own beauties and wisdom. So we need to co-construct knowledge and then collectively harvest knowledge, right? So that's basically what our overall principles are. And through that, we are doing the capacity building. Capacity building, we mean that local researchers and even Canadian researchers and everyone, we are capacity building. We are enriching knowledge and skills and capacities to do research. So we have a mission, we have a goal to accomplish, right? A beautiful goal, an authentic goal, a pure goal that we want to accomplish with a sincere heart to basically work with each other, develop each other, enrich each other, and ultimately bringing and developing and playing a role in bringing peaceful homes and peaceful societies, right? So that's basically overall. And in this journey, what we try to accomplish is, you can see that we will be fostering anti-colonial practices, developing research skills, and also hosting international webinars, seminars, symposium, conducting research. We will collectively work and publish articles together. In all of my articles, Lisa's articles, this is our priority, that we want to engage our research assistants and team, everyone together. Okay, so this was just a brief kind of about principles I wanted to share with you. Is there any question, quick question or thought on this? Okay, we can move to next slide. Thank you, Sarah, for helping. So I think we spoke about this a little bit while talking about their model. Harvesting pearls of wisdom, what we mean is basically we consider local wisdom, elders' wisdom, wisdom in our faith, wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That wisdom we consider pearls of wisdom. So we want to harvest that wisdom with care, with hands like this, right? We want to harvest that wisdom, and we want to treating our participant with dignity, integrity, and respect. We are going to meet our participant not just as a researcher or as a teacher or someone with a position and power. No, we are going to our participants as a learner, being gentle, being sensitive, being open to difference of opinion. We are going there with dignity, giving them dignity, right? And integrity and respect. This is the way we are going to. A conversation is exploration, not investigation, right? We are going there to explore, to learn, not to investigate. We are going there to learn, right? Active listening, eye contact, that is comes to respect. If I'm not doing the eye contact, I'm not respecting you. Like in many cultures, it all depends on situation, right? But like, for example, no cross arm, like I'm sitting like this, right? And you are sharing story. That's rude, right? I want to be respectful, a supportive speech, and giving them the idea that I'm listening, I'm a learner, and I'm so humble, and I am so grateful. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. I will bring this here. Yeah, Alexan may not know a lot about it, but I want to share with most of the team members that I was astonished to see that when Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I read somewhere, I'm not good at this, so if you guys can correct me, that when he would talk to someone and he is sitting, Prophet is sitting, on the side there is somebody ask a question on the side, and Prophet is sitting and looking like this, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So when he will respond to that person, he will turn around and he will look at that person and talk to that person with respect. This is wisdom, how to talk to people. This is qualitative researcher in my humble view, should follow this. That this is how we talk to people. This is how we respect people when they have a question or they are sharing, looking at them with care. So these guiding principles will not only ensure ethical community-based research, create a trustworthy relationship and rapport. From where we got this word, Afghan proverb. I think once Dr. Wahidiyar shared this, hell or heaven. Are you there, Wahidiyar? Okay, he can share it later on. I don't want to, when he is here, probably because he shared this with us, that this is how you will, when you, for example, in a very typical Pakhtun example, you can say that in a very good tone, in a respectful tone, I am ready to go with you to the hell. But in a very rude tone, I'm not even going to you, I'm not going with you even in the heaven. So it was something like this, I think, which I recall.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay, Arif is confirming it probably.
Yeah, now me and Arif both are confirming it.
Okay, okay. Good, yeah. So that's basically when you talk to an Afghan, for example, that's why we are talking about is as culturally respectful. So you know about this, that how politely, how respectfully we need to talk to them. Okay, next slide. Yeah, it also related to that, right? Making sure that you are not exploiting, misusing participants, right? It's very common. And historically, colonizers, researchers, anthropologists, and all those when they will be going to these different countries, and even until today, right? In Afghanistan, Pakistan, and many other countries, when they will go there, their forces will be there, and researchers will be doing the work to colonize further, to know about them, so they can better colonize them, more harshly colonize them. So we are not going there to exploit or misuse participants, right? Power is negotiated consistently throughout. We talk about it and making sure how I negotiate it when I am reflective about my power, when I know that I have power and I understand that, and then I try to work around it, that this power is not negatively used from me, right? So extracting data from a passive recipient is ethically a challenging work. So reflexivity is very important, right? Some of our participants may not be like, they may be like from a very marginalized communities, and they would try to make you happy, right? So making sure that that power relationship is taken, so we take good care of that, so they don't feel like they are disrespected or we are getting something out of that unethically. So your power continues before, during, and after the interview. So we need to understand that even before reaching out, during the interview, and even after the interview, making sure that the voices of participants are properly collected, properly analyzed, and properly and respectively confirmed by the participants. That is important. So these are some of the things, and these training will continue. So I don't want to, this is just the highlight of it. It's like sending back transcription to interviewee. What I collected from you, do you agree what I wrote? Is it all okay? Right? So, and it is not just our project. This is the participant project. These are their voices. So giving control to participants. So this is our positionality on that. Okay, next slide. Recruitment. Is it me or Alexan is doing it?
You're doing the recruitment section.
I'm doing it. Okay. So recruitment is simple. I think we will, Sarah and Hussein, and if Alexan wants to stay with us, so we will basically be sending you material throughout and supporting you in, for example, recruitment email we have, and we can't say it here for each location. You are basically leaders of your own regions, right? So you will know better how to reach out to people, right? In different, uh, for example, in Pakistan and Afghanistan, maybe, and other countries as well, the word of mouth may work through ours, right? So yeah, so research coordinator will be doing that, and you will have a criteria that we will send it to you as well. But we are talking about those men, but There is a criteria of men, not every man, right? In this project, we are looking for men who self-identify that they are supporting gender equity. They are advocating for violence against women. They don't appreciate wife beating or beating or domestic violence. Or they are somehow concerned about it and somehow doing something for this, right? So it will be region approaches and they will do accordingly, right? Next. Yes. Okay. The interviews. Is it Alexa or me?
This part's me. So
Okay.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to provide an overview of the interview process, and Dr. Jamal might share some of his insights along the way. So this slide here just shows a snapshot of the interview phases that you will go through. I'm just going to highlight some key details here. So we know that there's some preparation work before the interview, including the consent forms and preparing an interview guide with questions. And we will talk more about what those questions would look like later on. The setting is very important. We're hoping the interview takes place in a quiet, private, or semi-private space. The goal of this phase is to make participants comfortable, so they are more willing to be open and honest during the interview process. Then you can actually start to conduct the interview. You'll want to start with some casual conversation, again, making the participant more comfortable. You will also remind them of important elements of their consent form, including confidentiality. Then you will ask your questions and close the interview. And again, we'll talk more about these questions and closing later on. After the interview, you'll want to journal any key takeaways from the interview as soon as possible. Then when you have more time, you will transcribe the interview and write a summary. Then after the interview, you are going to provide the participant with that transcription and summary. As Dr. Jamal mentioned, we want to make sure that their ideas were properly understood and represented. So they will have the opportunity to verify any of your takeaways, and they have 30 days to change or withdraw their data. Next slide.
Any questions here? Any questions here about the... So we will send this in writing as well for you all. And thank you, Alexa. So like preparation, setting, right? These are sometimes these are very small things, but it make a big difference, right? A very small thing to pay attention to. One thing I want to mention here is that honorarium, for example, if it's 25 or whatever, 20 Canadian dollars for each participant, I would suggest giving that in the beginning of interview, not in the end of interview, right? Because when you give in the beginning of interview, so you are done with it, and there would be no kind of stress on participant that he need to make you happy. You know what I'm saying? So they will be sharing their ideas and without any that kind of thing. It's more respectful that, and you are also telling that it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if you fully respond to my questions or not. Your honorarium is just your honorarium for your time and respect. So when you meet your participant in the very beginning, giving them the honorarium. In the pilot project, I'm not sure if we did it, but we learn as we go. And also in terms of honorarium, I want to mention that in different cultures, honorarium will be different. Somewhere cash is good, and in some places they don't like getting cash. Like in one of my interviews when I was a PhD student, I did, and I remember when I give cash to a participant, so he looked at me and he said, "Did you forgot your own values while being in Canada?" So I was kind of a little bit very embarrassed. So basically, over there, I needed to give them a gift, and with respect, gift on their doorstep, right? Those were our elders and all that. So this is kind of something, and I wrote about it. I need to write an article on this topic, how to do it culturally relevant always. So these are some of the things, right? Consent form is very important. In some places, consent form participant may not be able to sign it, but then you take a recording of it. From the very beginning, you say that you consent and all that, read it, and then get a record. But ideally, it will be great if we have it on paper. Adnan, you have a question?
Ji sir, ji sir. Actually, some point you have already mentioned that as in our region, Pakistan and like in Afghanistan, for instance, when we outreach approach someone, our elder from the socio-cultural settings, so obviously we receive different approaches. I mean, honorarium, obviously, our seniors, they obviously feel sort of offending and they're not
Yeah.
considering it to take it. Another thing is that a word of mouth and consent. Obviously, our mainstream social life pattern is dominated by the word of mouth and the trust built connectivity we have. I mean, the written consent, that is something very rarely practicing here. So, do we proceed without any written consent and take primarily the word of mouth consent? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. This is, I also noticed in my experience that some people may not be even able to sign it or comfortable to sign it. So it's always you turn on your recording, you begin recording, and then you record that verbal consent, right? So you can do that as well. But you need to note it down that a verbal consent is recorded. Very important is keeping track of everything in writing. That's very for our ethical application and ethical practice. It's very important, right? Thank you for the question. And then I think already Alexa talked about it. So uh, finding a quiet place comparatively, right? And it all depends and looking to the convenience of your participant. But at the same time, also making sure that the place is it's not like a very busy coffee shop, right? It will be hard to get. Uh, Brother Ghulam? No, this is Gizem. Yeah, please.
Yes.
No, I think it is Gizem. You have a question, Gizem?
Yes, it's for mine.
Yeah, okay.
So, for example, I found a participant or participants. The participant did want to meet face to face or another place. Can we interview by video call or telephone call and etc.
Yeah, we prefer face to face.
Face to face.
Yeah, we prefer face to face. But if there is any situation where you cannot do it, so yes, then we can arrange something. Yeah, for example, in COVID, then we changed. I did all interviews
Yes.
then online kind of. So, but if you can, because face to face is Gizam, it's a body language, it's a conversation, right? It's a qualitative interview. So there's storytelling and all that you can get a lot to it. I believe it's a more enriching experience face to face compared to like. But if you cannot do it and someone you think really he is a great participant, so yes, you can do that on a video or whatever, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right? Any other question here? Just one small thing that we don't begin just with okay, thank you for coming. Here's question number one, right? Not like that, as you know. In this one, we sit down, we kind of have a little conversation, and sometimes have a cup of tea or coffee, right? In Qatar, we can have a kadak chai first, right? Dr. Rania served me with kadak chai a few times over there. So like that kind of thing, right? You can have that little bit comfortable environment, and then you start your conversation. And I usually start like this. It's your own choice, but I start, okay, what is your story? Right? And then we start a conversation about it and go deep. There was some chat. Sorry, I was not. Sarah, are you looking at chat or Alexa? I was not Sorry, I was not.
Yeah, so I just saw the chats. Yeah, so Dr. Rania is sort of giving some advice after having conducted her own interviews.
Okay. You want to read
Yeah,
that, please?
so I would like to suggest, if you allow me upon experience, just to add that after finishing the interview, it is preferable not to postpone writing anything
Yeah.
related that was seen, and it is very important not to mention any remark that you may have seen during the interview, like the emotions, the body language, to not be confused with your interviewees.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Adnan, you have another question? Yeah.
Yes, sir. In case sometime if our participant respond and they ask for the carbon copy of the transcript, for instance, the key points we note it down, and
Yes.
if he asks for a carbon copy to be his master copy, sort of, so can we provide them?
Yes, definitely. But I will tell the participant that I will transcribe it and completely I will transcribe it and give it back to you. So we basically prefer, it's a requirement also that we make sure that they read the whole thing. Wakar?
Yeah, just I wanted to add two things. One about the recording equipment. Like it's always better to have two recording equipments with you
Yes,
while going
yes.
to the interview. So because like can't always trust the technology.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just like base your whole thing on one device and that device did not work. So at the
yeah.
end of interview, you cannot like re-interview a person with the same kind of stuff. So it's very much important. Second, if you have the recording equipments, try to manage the charging sources for it. Like
Mm.
sometimes in our context, like if there is a load shedding and your mobile device is chargeless and like it's not enough for you, the charge is not enough for you to record an interview for more than 1 hour. So like it will create a big trouble for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And apart from that, additionally, like I will always prefer to have a diary with me and take field notes
Mm.
because like sometimes your participant will not allow you to audio record things and like the participant may also be a potential participant. You cannot just leave him or her just on the grounds that he is not giving you consent to audio record the interview. So in that case, like your transcript will wholly be based on the field notes. So you should have like apparatus and arrangement for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing which I actually also recorded with me was that when you try the interview is in a kind of like conversation with your participant, and your body language is respectful and appealing to the participant, so like usually it has a great impact on the data. Yeah, so those things I wanted to share just.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Wakar. These are all practical. And again, as I said, just small things, right? Like as Dr. Wakar said, like your battery is charged and all those kind of stuff. So very important small things that you need to prepare and your body language and comfort for your participant, right? Wonderful. Let's move next. Yeah.
So this slide shows just a few tips to help you with the interview process. But if you look through the list, you'll notice that a lot of you have already shared some great insights that line up with some of these ideas. So keeping in mind, there is a power dynamic within an interview. All of you know that you have specific context to consider. So use your discretion in terms of the context, culture, or the like politics of your region, and make sure that you're kind of adapting the interview appropriately so you know what's most appropriate for each participant that you're interviewing. Again, the relationship piece is really important. So we want to take time to build rapport with the participant before we move on into the questioning. If you do have the opportunity to interview them in person, you might notice a change in their body language. So they might come in, they might be a little nervous, not ready really to share. But if you take that time to build rapport, to build that relationship, you'll notice them start to relax. And then that's a good time to transition into the questioning. Because these participants are sharing personal stories, keep in mind that emotions will arise. And it really could be any emotion. So discomfort, frustration, confusion, sadness, anything that they're feeling in that moment. So be prepared to attend to those emotions. Because again, we want to make sure that we are being respectful of our participants. We're using the word interview, but you'll even notice some of you are changing the word interview to conversation because it should feel like a conversation. We want to be flexible, so please add questions or change questions as you see appropriate, because you're going to know in that moment what's best for that participant.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex.
All right, just a couple more general points about interviews. So in this study, you will all be collecting narratives. So with narratives, it's not just what is being said that's important, but it's the context surrounding their message. So we've talked a little bit about body language and emotion. So these are things that we should take note of as well. And through these narratives, you're going to gain an understanding of their worldview, value systems, beliefs, and personal experiences. If you are noticing that the participants' answers are quite general or vague, you can ask them to support their ideas with an example. Keep in mind that narratives are complex and contain multiple layers of meaning. So something a participant says in the moment may not seem significant, but once you've had time to reflect, take some notes, and you start your analysis, you might realize that those seemingly insignificant moments were actually very important. All right, so now we're going to take a closer look at some of the types of questions that you might ask. So we've mentioned it now a few times. The beginning or the opening of the interview is incredibly important. Once you've had the opportunity to build a bit of rapport and make that participant comfortable, you can start by reminding them of the purpose of your study and some of the broad topics you would like to explore. This gives the participant an opportunity to start to brainstorm and collect their ideas. The grand tour approach is when the interviewer prioritizes open-ended questions. For example, can you tell me about your community? This allows the participant to decide what content they actually want to focus on. So more open-ended, the better. Once you've started with an open-ended question, you can move towards a check and reflect. This is where you focus in on a few details that they've shared. So you can ask them to elaborate or clarify or provide examples to gain a bit of a deeper understanding of what they're sharing with you. Finally, consider a follow-up. This is when a participant mentions a topic or theme that you were not anticipating, but you would like to explore further. So please don't ignore these things. If you're noticing something of intrigue, you are encouraged to follow that. You may even discover these after the interview is concluded, during your transcription phase. If so, again, you're encouraged to reach back out to the participant and to explore that idea further. Here's just some examples of questions you might like to ask. So who are your mentors or what challenges you have faced? Again, the goal with these questions is to remain open-ended so that the participant has more control over what topics they would like to discuss. And again, we just want to emphasize that there is flexibility during these interviews. So you're encouraged to add questions or change them as you see fit, depending on the information that participant is sharing. We're going to move on to closing the interview, but before we do, does anybody have questions about questions during the interview? Okay. So we'll move on to the closing phase of the interview. So for closing an interview, we're hoping to end on a more positive note. If you spent time in your interview speaking about sensitive topics or emotional topics, then you may want to consider using a grounding technique at the end. When I say grounding, this is when we transition the client from that emotional space where they're talking and sharing very personal stories to talking about more general topics. So I can provide an example of this. For context, I work with survivors of sexual violence. So I was having a conversation with a woman about the sexual violence she experienced in her childhood and her fears that her child now would be exposed to something similar. So it was a very emotional conversation, something very difficult for her to talk about. As we were approaching the end of our time together, I asked her to reflect on a happy memory with her son. And she shared a story about a time that they spent in the park. So I asked a few questions about the day in the park. And then from there, I moved on to just asking about the park in general. I said, I've never been to this park. Can you tell me what is it like? Oh, did you drive there? Were you able to find parking? And so by the end of the conversation, we're just talking about a park. And the reason that I did this is I wanted to move her safely out of that emotional space because I don't want to end the interview while she's still like tangled up in all of these emotions. So once I knew I had moved her safely out of that space, then I was able to move to the closing of my interview where I said something like, okay, like it seems that we've reached our time together today. And then I can make my closing remarks. Some closing remarks to consider. You can remind them that the responses are confidential. You can remind them that you will be providing them with a transcript and a summary of the responses that they can read over and comment on. And of course, thank them for their time and for sharing these personal stories with you.
Okay, thank you, Alexin. Are there any questions at all about the interview before we move on to transcribing? Okay, so to get into the more technical parts, so after you finish the interview, of course, you're going to transcribe the interview and you're going to share that transcription with the participants just so that they know what you're including in it and, you know, so they feel more comfortable. So in our case, also, we are going to translate them into English because we have so many different languages. So transcribing the interview. So first, a transcript is a written record of everything that was said during the interview, capturing the complete conversation between the interviewer and the interviewee, providing a detailed reference point for analysis and review later on. So the most important part is that we're going to be using these transcriptions for our analysis. So the first thing to consider is that the interviews should be transcribed verbatim. And this means that everything that was said by both the interviewer and the participant should be written down. You can possibly exclude, like, for example, if they say or where, you know, it doesn't really matter. But if it's, for example, something where it gives additional context, like maybe they're pausing or they're, you know, saying they're just like they're thinking, taking a long time to think about it, then it could be beneficial to include that. So other than that, though, every single like word that is mentioned should be transcribed and should be written, even if, for example, if the grammar is off, if they like said a word and then they said, oh no, sorry, I mean this word, right? Like every single word, it should be transcribed exactly the same. And so it should be written in full sentences. So it's very, very important to have it be in a format where it's like a fully formed paragraph. And I'll show you guys an example as well after. But it shouldn't be written in like bullet points and point form because that kind of suggests that it's just a summary of what was said. And we don't want a summary. We want like an exact copy of what was said. It should be organized. It should have proper grammar. It should be easy to see and easy to read because consider that like this transcription is going to be shared with the rest of like with us, with the rest of the team, and we need to be able to see it and understand what was happening when we weren't there in the interview. And we should be able to make an analysis based on that transcription. Another thing, I kind of mentioned this, but make note of important pauses. So sometimes if participants pause or their sentence gets cut off, it can provide additional meaning and context to whoever is analyzing the transcript. So, for example, if they start a sentence off and then they stop, you can just put like a pause. So just put like a bracket, pause, and then continue with what they were saying. Or you can put like a dash to sort of signify that they were cut off in their sentence. So they were speaking, they got cut off maybe by another thought that they had, and then they switched to another thought. All of that can provide very important context when we're analyzing. Lastly, so there are some transcription apps that people use. I would say do not rely on them. Like you can use it at the beginning just to sort of get everything like written down, but you need to go over it and listen to it while you're going through it and make any adjustments. So it can help make the process quicker, but it should not be something that is relied on, because oftentimes it doesn't transcribe it properly, especially depending on language and accents and things like that. So please make sure that we're going over and listening to the entire recording and editing the transcription as we listen so that it matches exactly what was said during the interview. Does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Waqar.
Just with the transcribing apps, are there any apps which translate as well from like another language to English language?
I mean, I'm sure there are. I wouldn't rely on it though. Like it's and maybe Dr. Aamir can speak more to this, but I think it's very important to have somebody from, either the research assistant or the research coordinator, or even if you need somebody to be hired to do the translating, we can do that as well. But just because, especially with like different dialects and different accents, like I know, for example, for Arabic, I know that like people speak in different dialects, and sometimes if you try to translate it with an app, it doesn't translate well, right? So you have to have somebody who understands the context and who's understanding the complete message and is able to translate that. Does that make sense?
You can. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like those there are apps, right, in which you can do, even you can use sometimes Google also as well for translation, right? Copy paste kind of thing. But like as Sarah said, in language there are context and there are phrases which has a particular context. The same phrase is said in different context, it changes the meaning, the same phrase, right? So we need to be careful on that. So getting the meaning out of it properly in its own cultural and linguistic context. So someone need to, even if you get some help from translation, but you need to pay attention and basically paying attention and looking at it carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, just to add one thing, I think we previously discussed that transcription should follow immediately after the interview is conducted. Like usually, if us more days passes between like the interview is conducted and you are doing the transcription, so like the same things happen, you by yourself sometimes forget like what actually was meant by the phrase that was used by the participant.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's always good like to do that in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Waqar. So try to do the transcription ASAP. Like I would say, like if you could do it within a week. And then also remember, because we do need to send it out to the participants as well so that they can take a look at it. It's better to have it done earlier than later. Okay. So translation. So this is kind of just going off of what we just mentioned. So they should not be done on Google Translate because it can make mistakes and it doesn't understand maybe the context, the tone, the dialect. So like I mentioned, either the research coordinator, the team lead, or the RA can do it. depending on whatever works best for you, whoever you feel would be the best fit. If needed, we can hire professional translators if that's a necessary thing. And like Dr. Mir mentioned, Google Translate can be used occasionally to assist with. So for example, if you just need one word and you don't know exactly how, you can put it into Google Translate and then see from there, right? But it shouldn't be relied on. And that's because we want to reduce any miscommunications as possible. So yeah, translations should also not change the message. So the translation doesn't, like, unlike the transcription is completely exactly the same, what was said. The translation does not need to be like a literal translation, because sometimes it might change the meaning of what was said. And obviously everyone in their own language will kind of understand how to deal with this. So you're going to have to be the judge of this to ensure that the most accuracy is possible is being presented. So yeah, please, whoever is translating, just pay attention to that. Another thing is you can also provide short explanations if needed. So if there are cultural contexts or words that are said in another language that once it's translated, it doesn't really make sense on its own, and you need to further elaborate on it, you can include that elaboration in the same document, either just, put it in brackets. So like if it's a phrase, for example, that is often said in that country, you can just put in brackets and say like, this anecdote means this, or this, whatever this quote means, suggests this, right? Or you can even put it at the end of the document if a longer explanation is needed. So yeah, it should always be with the intent of making sure that this translation is going to be shared with somebody who is not from that same culture, so they might not understand it. So sort of keep that in mind, that who the audience is, who's going to be analyzing, just so that we are all in agreement of what the content is in the translations. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay.
And there, just one note that the translation and transcription, ideally, if excuse me, if the person who did the interview and you are most likely from the same culture, right, background, and if you have time of doing it, so that will be great, right? And if not, then we need to pay someone else in the same culture to do the translation and transcription. But ideally, you may like doing it yourself.
Yeah, it's better to have the person who is interviewing so that you're aware you were in the interview, so it's most accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. So this is an example of what I consider to be a very good transcription translation. So this is from the pilot project, actually. This was the Turkey interview. So there's two files, one in the original language in Turkish, and then one in the translation, the English translation. So we ask from you guys also to keep two separate files with both languages. So here you have this is what the interviewer was saying, this is the question, and then the person answered, and here it is translated. So the question is very it's very specific. And then what the person said, and it's translated word for word. So for example, this is an example of providing context. So this person said, we saw the male hegemony over women as a kind of shirk. If somebody is maybe not Muslim or doesn't speak Arabic, they don't know what that means. So then in brackets, the translator just put in a little explanation of what that means. So associating partners with God. So that's an example of providing explanation.
Yeah.
And then also here, another thing to keep in mind. So this question, so the person asks, the interviewer asks, so you're talking about your experience in civil society at Muslim Dare. I don't know how to pronounce that, but so obviously this is a question that came up in the interview because the person was talking about it. So this wasn't a scripted question, right? It was something that just came up based on what the participant said. So this is an example of how you can adjust questions. You can, rephrase things depending on what the person in front of you is saying, right? And then she follows up here in your academic life, and then the person
Yeah.
answers. So yeah, so this is a very good example. This is basically like how we would like to see the transcriptions and the translations. Are there any questions regarding this or any concerns, comments?
Yeah. So is it necessary to like keep the transcribed file in the original language as well? Because like usually we do that, we just hear to the audio recording and translate it and write it in English pattern, English language, with no file in the original Pashto language and written
Yeah,
form.
like Sarah said, Wakar, that this is a very ideal for us, right? That you can have both.
Yeah.
But we are okay if you keep a full record of the original interview in the original language and send us the basically translation, right? So we will be doing,
Okay.
yeah, it is important to keep both.
And additionally, when you send it to the participants, they would probably want to see maybe in the original language. And then they would also want to see, okay, well, how is it going to be translated, for example, right? So it's important to keep both and send both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
But like most of the time, writing the interview in Pashto language will be difficult than writing it in English, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can discuss about it as a team.
Yeah.
The best scenario, right? Yeah, Awes?
Yeah, I just want to know sometime interview has repeated answers, and sometime it stopped and distracted. And when we transcribe it, and I have experience, so there are so many vague words during that. So what do you suggest? We shouldn't delete anything because there are apps those just transcribe it according to, like as you mentioned, everything and repeated words. One word is repeatedly 3 4 times interview is mentioning, so it is sometimes confusing to understand what is going on. So can we correct it so that anybody can understand in its original language?
Yeah, so I would say like if there's repeat words, things like that, it might add additional context. Like, oh, this participant kept repeating this word. Maybe it means something specific that we can analyze. Um, with the ums and the uhs, like that, also you can sort of like it depends on the context. So if you feel that it's not significant, you can remove it. If you feel that it's not really adding anything, but if it's something where they take a long time to think, for example, or it's providing additional context into like maybe what they think about that topic, then I would say keep it. But yeah, try your best to have it be as accurate as possible and have it be like exactly the same as the interview. Any other questions? Okay. We can move on then to narrative analysis. And so this
Sarah,
is going, yeah.
just one sec. I think until now we are good to interviews. Analysis, if you could just briefly say, and we can have another workshop fully
Yeah.
dedicated to analysis, right? So
Yeah.
you can briefly go through.
Yeah. Yeah, so narrative analysis is going to be our way of analyzing these transcripts, and we are going to have another workshop after. So it's really just concerned with sort of, it's kind of like a storytelling approach, looking at the narratives that are presented from the participants instead of doing like another type of analysis, right? And it's based on this article by Fraser. I can also send it in an email
Yeah.
for you guys to sort of take a look at and just have more information. But there will be a future workshop. And these are just the steps of narrative analysis. There's 7 steps to it, but I won't get into that right now. And then we have ethics, which Dr. Aamir will take over this part.
Oh, it's my turn? Okay. Yeah, we We already have ethics approval, and there are some requirements about ethics, which are already, some of them are already discussed in the interviews and all that. I don't want to repeat that, but we will be, Sarah and Hussein and Alexan, they will be sharing files through OneDrive, which is University of Calgary OneDrive, and you also keep all the data very carefully in password protect computers and devices, and making sure to remove any identifying information, name, phone number from the transcribed interviews and replace names. Basically, earlier that you will develop a table, and Sarah will basically send you a sample in which you will have original names, and then you will have those pseudonyms for that, and which will basically only researchers would know about that. And beside that, in the transcription, we will not be using those original names, right? So yeah, these are some of the basically important things that we need for our ethics requirement, that the data is secure. These days, there is a lot going on in the university. I can tell you overall that those data security issues. So they are very concerned about this. So we will be providing some more information on the go about that. Next. Yeah. So I think that's it for now. Thank you so much. We had a little bit briefly kind of give you, I would say, flavors of how to conduct interview and some key areas and tips. Any insights? Any insights or questions overall?
May I, Dr. Amir?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Going back to the ethics, I believe that for us as Doha Institute, we should renew the IRB for us, because the first time it was for the pilot, and it was also for limited by 10 interviewees. But for now, it's about 15, right?
Yes.
And it's a must for us to renew it. And I
Sure.
don't know for the colleagues from other countries if they are going to get the IRB from their also universities or instances that they work within. And even if you as a Canadian team got the IRB from your country, so it's not necessary to use it in ours, and I mean in Qatar. So we will go to renew it and to add all news and to update it and to get the extension for it for us. So I
Sure.
don't know if it's feasible for or fruitful for our colleagues to do so.
Sure, yeah. In some of the countries, we found that they accept University of Calgary's ethics approval. So they don't need to do that. But in some countries like Qatar, I think we need to do it again. So yes, please proceed with that, Dr. Rania. Any support you need from us, we will provide, and you and the research assistant can just start working on that.
Great. So, but please share with us the ones
Yes, we will.
the IRB of yours in order to attach with our.
Yes, we will send you complete ethics application that we submitted and being approved. So we will send it there to you.
There is a PDF with it, right? With
Yeah,
the
yeah.
number, with the number. I think it's a number. The number and the PDF one, it's enough for us if you want to not share the whole proposal.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Any other question? Dr. Ghulam, what do you think in Saudi Arabia? Would you apply for ethics, or no, this ethics will be enough?
Assalamu alaikum. Tomorrow I will ask from my colleagues if there is a need.
Okay.
We will ask the university. There is an ethics committee in the university. If there is no need, then we will continue with your ethics. We will use
Okay,
that one,
wonderful.
inshallah.
Excellent. Okay. And I think Turkey won't need, probably. Last time they accepted our ethics application. Gizem, you can check with Dr. Ozhan.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Sarah, you may stop sharing. So Yes, this looks better when I can see people. Okay, good. Adnan, you have a question?
He said, actually, I want to have your permission. Do we step forward to disseminate the message about this project, for instance, in our region from our social media pages, or we have other active social media pages of academia. For instance, in Pakistan, we have All Pakistan Social Worker Network that has around about 80,000 active followers just to disseminate the impact of these projects in the futuristic perspective. So do you have the
Yes, sure.
permission
Yes.
can we share the
Yes,
project
yes,
details?
of course, do it, and Sarah will send you. Basically, so you don't need to do it again. Sarah will send you some stories that were published here, and some pictures. So then you can take that and share anywhere you want. And I also just want to say that we recorded this training. So with your permission, we may have at some point, we will send you the recording, and it may be available on the YouTube channel of our project, which we will be creating so people can get benefit from this training. Did you stop recording, Sarah?
No, I'm still recording. I can stop now.
Okay, okay, thank you so much.